What's going on, guys? My name is Richard, and welcome to this week's watchlist video sponsored by MarketSmith. As always, we'll go through both the fundamentals and technicals of all the stocks on my focus list, and let's start with AMD. So first of all, let's open up the fund ownership info over here. So you can see excellent earnings growth the past few quarters, great estimates for both 2020 and 2021, great IBD ratings, strong institutional sponsorship, and 2 high-quality funds in there as well. And if we look at the chart, you can see that it broke out of a double bottom stage 4 base a few weeks ago and now has pulled back to the pivot into the 21 EMA. So as for the entry setup, what I want to see is a breakout through this downward trend line on above average volume and eventually into all-time highs. So next up on the list, we've got apps, and overall, this is right at all-time highs. Looks very strong. And if we look at the earnings and sales, you can see excellent growth here the past few quarters, acceleration in terms of earnings, sales, and decent growth in margins. It's not quite accelerating every single quarter, but it's very close to it. And if we look at the annual EPS estimates, you can see excellent growth here with the revisions up as well. The IBD ratings are decent, especially the composite rating. And if we look at the number of funds, you can see a nice increasing trend and 1 high quality fund in there as well. And if we look at the chart, you can see that its last base was all the way back here, stage 3, but it has yet to form a stage 1 base within this uptrend right here. So as for the entry setup, what I want to see is a breakthrough downward trend line on above average volume. I like these bars right here where they show a reversal off the lows on this day, the 2nd, which is where I started my most recent position, and also this Thursday, a nice upside reversal, and then a teal dot on this Friday. So a move through this on above average volume, and then ideally a breakout into all-time highs. Moving on, we've got a recent IPO, BEKE, and overall you can see excellent growth in terms of earnings and sales. Overall, great estimates for 2020 and 2021, great IBD ratings as well. But you can see that there's no high-quality funds in there just yet, but you've already got 341 funds owning this stock, which is quite substantial. And if we look at the chart in TC2000, the entry setup that I want to see is a break through these highs on above average volume. I like how it's pulling back to the 50 SMA, 21 EMA here within the bottom of this base. And overall, it looks strong, great prior uptrend. And even this huge down volume day was actually a positive because it was above its open, although it did finish well off the highs of the day. So that is BEKE, and next up we've got CALX. And overall great growth in terms of earnings and sales, especially the past 2 quarters. Not the best estimates for 2021. You can see they're actually down, but the revisions are up. The EPS rating is a 75. Group RS is pretty poor. D. SMA rating is a C. Accumulation distribution B-, and the overall comps rating is a 93. And looking at the number of funds, you can see it's increasing nicely, and you have 1 high quality fund in there as well. And as for the chart, you can see that it is currently in a stage 3 base right above this previous one, and the standard pivot is 2778, although I want to see it take out these highs right here. I like how it pulled back to the 50 SMA and found support right there. And if we go over to the chart, I either want to see, as I said, a break above these pivots with a horizontal line drawn, or a break of this downward trend line on above average volume. And I like how it's consolidating right above its previous green line, and this is the previous all-time high set all the way back in 2011. So that is CalX, and moving on, we've got our next stock, CRNC. And overall, you don't see explosive growth in terms of sales and earnings. Last quarter was up 17%, sales up 10%, and after-tax margins up 28.3%. And looking at the annual EPS estimates, you can see in 2021, it was supposed to be up 20%, and a further 17% is expected in 2022. Decent IBD ratings, you can see the RS rating is pretty poor, D+. If we look at the number of funds, you can see it actually peaked in December 2019, but overall you do have 1 high quality fund in there as well. And looking at the chart, you can see it's been on an explosive run here from this stage 1 consolidation and has formed a short shelf up here around 90. So as for the entry setup, what I want to see is a breakout above this downward trend line on above average volume. I like the signs of accumulation, especially this gap up on volume, then these next 3 days here. And overall, I would expect this to challenge all-time highs relatively soon as it pulled back about 12% from this quick move up. So that is CRNC. And next up, we've got Frog, which was also on my watch list from this past week. But overall, you can see decent sales growth, signs of earnings growth here. but overall you can see it's not supposed to be explosive in terms of EPS estimates in 2021. It's actually supposed to be down 62%, although revisions are up. The EPS rating is a very poor 21, Group RS is B+, estimate rating is a C, accumulation distribution C+, and the composite rating is a very poor 26. And overall, you can see there's already 159 funds in this stock, and you have a whole bunch of high-quality funds in there as well, hopefully supporting this stock at this price. So if we go over to TC2000, what I want to see is a breakout above this inside day pattern, so a breakout above the prior day's high at 68.99. That could be your first entry, and then eventually a breakout above this level at 72.36, which is kind of the top of this Darvas box right here. To me, the overall chart looks like it's being accumulated. You can see that it undercut this prior low back in here. You have some nice moves off the lows here on higher volume, and then nice volume coming in as it moves up from that low. And if we go to the volume at price, you can see that it's actually above the major volume level, which is at about 65.76 or so. So good things. I think it's under accumulation at this point, and I'm looking to get in above this level right here. So moving on, we've got GRWG, Grow Generation Corp, and overall you can see great growth in terms of earnings and sales the past 2 quarters, over 100%. Great estimates for 2021, up over 144%, and decent IBD ratings as well. Looking at the number of funds, you can see it really exploded the past 2 quarters, and you have one high quality fund in there as well. And if we look at the chart, you can see it's moved up quite strongly from the stage 1 cup with handle, and now has pulled back to 21 EMA constructively. So as for the entry setup, what I want to see is a break of this downward trend line on above average volume, and ideally it would challenge all-time highs very soon after that move up. So that is GRWG, and next up we've got Moderna. And overall, looking at the earnings and sales, you can see it's not yet profitable, but does have very strong sales growth, over 400% 2 quarters ago, and over 800% this most recent quarter. And overall, you can see great EPS estimates for 2021, a breakout year. And overall, you can see that the IBD ratings are okay. You can see that the EPS rating is only a 20, but the overall composite rating is an 82. And looking at the number of funds, you can see a nice increase, especially in the most recent quarters. And you have 3 high quality funds in there as well. And looking at the chart, you can see it's moved up 65% from the pivot of the stage 3B base, and overall has consolidated a little bit after this huge reversal right here. So as for the entry setup, what I want to see is a breakout above this downward trend line right here, and eventually into new all-time highs. So next up, we've got a solar name, Nova, and there's a couple of these setting up this week, but overall you can see decent growth in terms of sales, although it's not yet profitable just yet. And overall, the EPS rating is very poor, 19, Group RS an A+, estimate rating is a D, accumulation distribution B-, and the overall composite rating is a 77. And looking at the fund ownership, you can see a nice increasing trend, but you do not have any high quality funds invested in this stock just yet. And overall, you can see it's moved up from this stage 1 cup with handle, and now has pulled back to 21 EMA constructively with the RS line basing as well. So as for the entry setup, what I want to see is a breakout above this pivot right here at 41.20, and you could potentially add as it breaks out into all-time highs above this level, which is at 46. So moving on, we've got Peloton, which was included in the NASDAQ 100 that was announced this past Friday. And overall, you can see explosive growth in terms of earnings and sales. Great annual EPS estimates for 2022, up over 100%. And you can see decent IBD ratings as well. And right now it's in the stage 1 consolidation with a standard pivot of 139.75. So you can see, looking at the chart, that it's been holding this 50 SMA and just kind of crawling upwards. And overall, I'm looking for a break above this level right here at 120.31, the high of this day, on above average volume. I like the reversal action on this Thursday, and then a nice consolidation day on Friday. So that is Peloton. You've got a huge prior uptrend and then a nice constructive base, although you do have this gap down, which is something to keep in mind because stocks that gap down once are more likely to be doing that in the future. So keep that in mind. And moving on, we've got PayPal. And overall, you can see it's within this stage 2 cup with handle pivot right here, although it had a nasty move down. So really, this is more of a double bottom base here. But overall, you've got decent growth in terms of earnings and sales. Last quarter, earnings up 41%, sales up 25%, And looking at the annual EPS estimates, you can see in 2021, they are supposed to be up 19% once again, although revisions are down. The EPS rating is 98, the group R is an A-, the SM rating is an A, accumulation distribution is a B-, and the overall comms rating is a 99. And overall, you can see that a whole bunch of funds are in this at this point, and you've got a lot of high quality funds in there as well. And we already talked about the chart, so moving on to the setup, what I want to see is a break above this high right here at 220.57 on above average volume. So moving on, we've got our next stock, which is REGI. And overall, you can see great growth in terms of earnings going back the past few quarters. Last quarter earnings up 291%, sales were down 1%, and after-tax margins were up 4.7%. And looking at the annual EPS estimates, you can see in 2021, they're supposed to be up 65%, with revisions up as well. Great IBD ratings, except for that EPS rating. And looking at the fund ownership, you can see it's pretty much been flat the past 2 years. You do not have any high-quality funds invested into this company. But overall, you can see it's within the stage 3 consolidation with a standard pivot of 65.55. And what I'm looking for in terms of the setup is a break of this downward trend line, which it was trying for this past Friday, but it ran out of time. But overall, nice volume coming in and overall nice action support at the 50 SMA right here, here, and also here with a nice reversal on this Tuesday. Last on the list, we've got SITM, and overall you can see great growth in terms of earnings this past quarter, up 229%, and great estimates for 2021, up over 129%, with revisions up as well. The EPS rating is a 69, the group R is an A-, the SM rating is a D, accumulation distribution is a B, and the overall comms rating is a 92. And overall, you can see that you've got a big growth in funds over the past 2 quarters, but you do not have any high-quality funds invested into this stock just yet. And overall, it's up over 436% from its IPO base all the way back here. But overall, you can see it's formed this kind of pseudo cup and handle here. And what I'm looking for is a breakout above this high, which is at 110.91 on above average volume. So overall, my top 3 setups for this week are apps and AMD for ads. And also I'm watching SITM because it's been such a strong stock within this uptrend. And overall, I can see that there's some supportive action down here in terms of volume. And even this day, which was a large down day on volume, had a very tight spread from the high to the low, suggesting that there wasn't much distribution on this day. So that is my plan for the week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, please go ahead and leave a like down below and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let me know down below in the comments what are your top 3 setups for this week. And I'll see you guys in future videos.